Oh my God. I just had the mental image of Harry Houdini Dalek.
Harry Dalek.
It's just a Dalek in a barrel. And now you see me, now you don't.
And welcome back to another episode of Who is My Doctor?
Who is my doctor?
Who is indeed. I'm your host, Zach, and I know a lot about Doctor Who.
And I'm also your host, Cassie, and I'm so excited for this episode.
Are you really?
Yes.
Why is that, Cassie?
Oh, I don't know.
Could it be because we're watching Series 7, Episode 1, Asylum of the Daleks?
My little guys.
You boys, you little gross little goopy boys.
My little robo-Nazis.
Yes, today we are going to watch our first ever Dalek opener for a series of the show.
My 5'6", 4 feet long, 3 feet wide,
400-pound.
Yeah, I think that's what they said.
Well, they must be because they're made of full metal, except for the little squid.
300 or 400 pound.
They got to be heavy for sure. Yes, today we're going to watch Asylum of the Daleks. I'm curious how you're going to feel about it. This is a very controversial episode for a lot of people, but it does feature your nasty little guys, so it's already a point in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
This is also the start of the last season for Matt Smith. So my doctor's almost done. I am certainly sad about that, but it would just get more show to look forward to, especially because I've been watching I'm getting way ahead of ourselves now, but I've been watching Inshudi's series, and I'm like, if Cassie's going to have a doctor, it's going to be Inshudi. He is so your vibe.
I got a little bit of a spoilie for a future episode.
Mm-hmm. Do you know
I'm
which one?
so excited for us to get to that point eventually.
Mm-hmm. Do you know which one, or?
I don't want to tell you what I already know.
Oh, okay. So that way you could forget it.
Yeah. If I say it out loud, there's a good chance I will remember it. Because it was a breakdown of a particular animation.
Okay.
And I didn't know what it was attached to. I just thought it was a cool animation.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, then yeah. I think that tells me enough of what you probably meant, and I can forget it from there. So instead, let's try and make some more of what you say reality by doing the Cassie Profassi today.
Gross. What do you want?
Well, I will say this episode is very difficult to come up with Profassis for. Because as you probably get, so before we watched this episode, we for our patrons, we did a little mini episode on pond life.
Yeah, they get bonus content. Give us money.
No, it's just a nice little gift for people that do that.
Yeah, and you can also get that gift if you give us some money.
So you have probably gathered that the ponds are not done. Their story continues a little bit. And that was a little controversial, but this episode does not just feature the ponds. It also features, honestly, my favorite companion of the modern series.
Canine.
So you'll meet her this episode.
Feline.
But there wasn't a lot I could do in the way of Profassis because it's kind of hard to do that without giving stuff away. So these questions are a little silly.
Oh, no, you never give me silly questions.
The first one feels a little bit more traditional. This episode features, I'll call it a reference, maybe even a contradiction to a previous Dalek line that we love.
Oh,
no. Can you guess what the line is that the Daleks say? When I say prominent, I mean, you and I still use this quote a lot.
So there's only two that come up in my brain, which is, would you care for some tea? That one we like to say a lot. And then also, Dalek has no concept of elegance. I'm out of my Dalek voice
obvious.
right now. Oh man, I haven't heard them in a minute. I forget what they sound like.
So you gave yourself a coin flip with that one. Yeah, because the last Dalek we saw was the only Dalek in last season
The
was
only
tipped
Dalek
over. It was had a monologue about looking up and seeing the devil.
Yeah.
That was the only Dalek in all of Series 6.
I know. Well, the last Daleks we saw were the the Kia Daleks.
Speaking of Daleks real quick, I have recently discovered I was incorrect. What I told you is apparently just a myth that people have accepted. The Daleks are not contractually obligated to show up every season. They just have.
They just do. I feel like contractually obligated, no.
Socially contractually obligated.
Socially, thank you. That's the word. That is what I was looking for.
Yeah, there's no contract with the Terry Nation estate. There is a contract with the fan base that the bad little guys have to show up every season or so.
Yeah, my horrible little guys have to at least make a cameo.
Yeah, it just happened to be that way.
The way I get so excited when I'm watching some disparate piece of sci-fi media and I see a fucking Dalek just roll through the background. I forget what it was. It was an animated one though, and I was like, I went full ape mode for that. Yeah, I don't think we've brought this up yet. It's something that a friend of mine does when she's at karaoke.
I didn't know about this karaoke angle. Why karaoke?
So keep this in if you want. I don't care. So it's Gabby.
Okay.
When she's doing karaoke for sometimes, if there's something that's like a ooh, she'll go. It's so funny.
That's so wild. Why would you do that?
Because, well, if it's wild, it's because she's an ape, you know?
No.
Just because she's erratic and wonderful, and I love her so, so much. But because of that, I started getting back into my, like, actor roots one day and thought, what if I just let go and get back to my roots? And I went way back into my roots and started running around the house going, but then that is also really funny when you don't know how to do something because it's very Planet of the Apes. And so now, whenever there's something that's a little bit perplexing, it is a wonderful tip. I recommend it to anybody, everybody to do it. Or when you're alone in your car and traffic is just getting annoying and you want to scream, to just go because it also forces so much air into you that you're
almost hyperventilating.
You're also taking deep breaths, so it actually is like kind of helpful, and it's just really funny and fun to do. But yeah, that started out with karaoke.
Can I be upfront with you real quick, Cassie? I have no idea how we got on this subject. I know editing me is listening back to this. I was like, oh, this is how it happened. But in the moment, I'm like, I have no idea how we got here.
We said coin toss.
Yes.
Coin flip.
Yep. This episode features a reference, possibly even a contradiction to a previous Dalek line that we love. Can you guess the line?
Possible contradiction.
Yeah. So if we're taking
I don't know how that means.
Well, if we're taking the two lines that you've given as an option, that means either the Daleks do have a concept of elegance or the Daleks do not care for tea.
Well, I know that the Daleks don't care for tea. So they do have a concept. They do have a concept of elegance. That's
okay.
That's going to be the line that they contradict.
Okay. All right. We'll go with that then. All right. And then the other part of the Cassie for Fassie here. Cassie, what are the two most important ingredients for making a souffle?
What the fuck?
When I wrote this question down, that was exactly the response I thought I was going to get. So basically, this episode has two different references to baking ingredients that happen to be two of the most important ingredients for making souffles. Basically, I'm asking if you can guess what those ingredients are.
Eggs and patience?
Eggs and patience?
Yeah,
I'll give you the point of one of them is correct. I'm not gonna
because you can't overwork a souffle, and you have to let that bitch sit in the oven, because the second you open up that oven, it's gonna crash. So you have to be patient and not do the thing that you want to do, which is open the oven and look at your souffle.
Alrighty then. Cassie's profacies for the day are that the Daleks do have a concept of elegance, and the two most important ingredients for a souffle are eggs and patience. Additionally, I've added a new game for myself starting this season, where I get a point if I can correctly guess what Cassie's favorite part of the episode is going to be.
That you're going to say, if I can guess how Cassie will respond to a question.
No,
Because I have 4 generated responses for everything.
I did briefly consider if I know that ratings are kind of, I'm not a huge fan of just like slapping a number on something.
Nah.
I did kind of like the idea if I could guess what you would rate an episode. But I thought it was more fun if I just came up with what I think will be your favorite part of an episode.
Okay, yummy.
So obviously I can't preemptively tell you that, but we'll find out when we come back from the episode. So we will find out about all of that as we come back from Series 7, Episode 1, Asylum of the Daleks.
Hooray!
Held by him in a straitjacket. This episode of Who is My Doctor is brought to you by Worse Help. Because why cope when you can collapse? Let's face it, my world's on fire. How about yours? The news is full of chaos, your boss keeps making racist jokes, and there's this thing in your shoulder that just won't go away. You don't need help. You're beyond help. You need Worse Help. With Worse Help, you'll be paired with a licensed chaos agent. Sorry, therapist. Who won't ask, how does that make you feel? Instead, they'll say, let's burn that bridge together. Every session is 45 minutes of cathartic screaming, followed by a guided visualization called It's Not You, It's Literally Everyone Else. Worse Help's patented spiral sync technology even syncs your emotional breakdown to your Google Calendar, so you can officially fall apart between meetings. Sometimes the correct response is to finally snap. So go ahead. Download Worse Help today. Worse Help. It's not self-care, it's self-aware. And we are back from Asylum of the Daleks.
Doctor Who?
Doctor Who?
Doctor Who?
I told you you're gonna hear that question a bunch more. For what it's worth, it's really just this season that does that. But you're gonna have to get used to it for a few episodes at least.
I mean, here's my thing though, is that the Daleks had a legitimate question or a legitimate reason to ask the question because he has the superlative of doctor and they
don't know who.
Yeah.
They know a doctor, they don't know who. If you probably have forgotten this because it's been a few weeks, but the reason Dorian was asking it is because basically it's a prophecy that if anyone says the doctor's true name, that the universe will end, basically. So that's why he's like, the question that must never be answered is Doctor Who. That's there was a reason to say it. It was just a really cheeky way of repeating it specifically for television last time. It is really funny to hear it again. It is really funny to hear it asked by a chorus of Daleks, though.
A chorus of 26 Daleks.
Yes, they had 26 physical Daleks on that set.
Which I'm sure they did the same thing. They just pulled a Deep Roy in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory where they
just filmed it in different sections and
and then just put all the pictures
moved the choir
together.
To whatever parapet they needed to go.
Choir.
The Dalek choir. I am a baritone. My mother says I have the most beautiful tenor.
Jeez.
So what'd you think of the episode, Cassie? I will say this is a very divisive episode, so you liking it or not liking it
I do like it. I am sad that we watched it so late because this is Cassie bedtime. So even though I was really into it, I am wearing my nice comfy clothes. I'm in the corner of the couch, my favorite spot, and I had a little kitty cat curled up in my arms. It was very easy for me to fall asleep.
There was I managed to, I think I kept you awake through pretty much all of it though, but there was one part in particular where I saw you like almost, you didn't fully like shoot upright because the cat was on you, but you did like shift yourself in a way where you're like, okay.
I don't recall.
It was the moment they turned the camera to reveal that Oswin Oswald is in fact a Dalek. Mm-hmm. I saw you go, like you shifted. It wasn't a lot, but you just like.
Well, because I'd had the thought early on, just based off of the fact that the room that she is in was striped is not the word I'm looking for, mm-hmm. but fragmented in a way that was reminiscent of the Daleks, like.
Yeah, there's a lot of like visual hints that something is happening, like the fact that the screen she looks through also happens to look a little bit like the Dalek eye sock screen. I do like this, that it's very subtle that they do it. That there's not like the twist was super obvious all along if you look back, but there's like, there's little like hints, so like you could pick up on those. I will say I think this episode gets better the more I watch it. The first time I watched it, I was a little annoyed by it.
Why would you say that you were annoyed?
The entire reason is Amy and Rory. The fact that this episode opens with Amy and Rory getting a divorce after the end of series 5 being that Rory waited 1,000 years or 2,000 years for Amy. Mm-hmm. And then series 6 being largely about how, like, they're together and in love and they have a daughter and the daughter is River Song and all, like there's so much to do with their relationship to open series 7 with, and they're divorced. Like, kind of sucks. And honestly, I think the justification they give is really flimsy for Amy and Rory. Like, these two characters have been through so much together, and Amy being like, yeah, we went through all of time and space and he waited 2,000 years for me, but he really wants a kid. So, like, I guess it's kind of...
It's Amy trying to do what I would refer to as a mercy killing.
Yeah. But it's very weird in a world that has adoption. Yeah, I don't know. It just felt so like flimsy the way that they had brought that in. It felt like it was just drama for the sake of drama, as opposed to it being something that felt like a natural extension of their story. Because Rory has never once mentioned kids the entire like 2 seasons we've seen him.
Yeah, but you get the vibe.
Yeah, he's definitely got like a dad vibe. But it's just very strange. Overall, I really like the setting of the Dalek Asylum. I like I know you weren't a big fan of them, but like the Dalek zombies.
Oh, I hate those. And I'll tell you why. One of my like secret fears, not secret fears, just one of the things that like really freaks me out is like skeleton horror. Mm-hmm.
Because there's one inside you.
Yeah. And the second that my consciousness becomes aware of that, and the little alien that pilots my meat suit.
I am not a skeleton. I am a human.
So that in particular, though, and it's not even that they were like skeletons. It's that they were like...
partially decayed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so when they're in that like uncanny valley of like not quite dead, not quite alive. And then with the reaching out of the hands and grabbing on, it's just, there's that one part in the Indiana Jones ride where you're zipping through the skeletons and they're all like coming down from the ceiling going.
Wait, sorry, how did that go again, Cassie?
That part scares me every single time. I have to close my eyes. The part in Indiana Jones where you're going through and they're coming down from the ceilings going, the part I'm talking about. Now, I did express to a friend of ours that part really scared me. And she said, do you know what I do to make it better? I just try to count as many skeletons as I can and So anytime you'd go through, you would just hear us going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Speaking of the undead.
Yeah, that's different.
I think also part of it is that whenever the little stalks come out of their skulls, they make a little like egg cracking sound.
It's supposedly the neck cracking, but that's that's
or
egg.
like their skull is like cracking open or something. But you know, it's Daleks, so eggs. Eggs.
I was correct on that.
You were correct. You were correct on both points. One of the most important ingredients for souffles is eggs. And also, the Daleks do have a concept of beauty, which I think... obviously, there's an argument to be made that the Daleks still may not have a concept of elegance, but it certainly feels like a straight-up contradiction to their previous statement. Do you think there's a Dalek poet somewhere that's like, I have discovered the Dalek definition of beauty, and it is... And he just turns the page around and it just says hate in all capital letters.
No, because that means that Dalek has...
Concept of poetry.
Yeah, concept of freedom of speech.
Just a Dalek coffee shop.
Could you imagine a Nazi poet? Speaking of which, Dalek prison camp?
Mm-hmm. No one escapes the Dalek prison camps. Unless they get turned into a thing. Yeah, this was our first time for you getting to see the Dalek homeworld of Skaro. You've not had a chance to see that yet, and it looks fucked up.
It looks like what I imagine hell looks a little bit like.
Yeah, with a giant Dalek statue that you could walk through like it's a museum for some reason.
Like it's Discovery Zone. Yeah.
Do you think there once was a giant Dalek in there and they've just like lost him?
Maybe.
Like a giant, like Leviathan-sized Dalek.
Kraken.
Hello.
I'm just trying to imagine what a giant Dalek sounds like. Hey, Zach.
Exterminate. Actually, you know what the giant Dalek probably sounds like? Probably sounds like... probably sounds like...
How'd that go one more time? Okay, thanks. I understand why you had me do it. That's funny as hell. New intro.
Yeah, we do have a new visual for the intro. Specifically, the music itself is the same, but the visual is different.
I like the color saturation.
The time vortex.
The way that the words come out feels very museum-y.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate the way that the like.
Okay.
And part of it is because I really like the way they came out before, because they were so like definitive and like almost showy. Like, boom, here they are.
Well,
boom, here's the next person.
It also felt like they were coming out of the time vortex themselves.
Yeah, and they would like time well with the music, and they just don't anymore. They just kind of shimmer and fade, and like maybe they're doing something with that on purpose that I'm just not picking up, but I feel like I've got an editor's instinct and I'm not picking up on what they're timing that to. Yeah, I like the idea that they decided to give the time vortex a different color scheme. I don't know that I think this one's too dark. Like it gives the show a weird tone.
I like not having Amy introduce the beginning of it.
You don't like knowing about when she was a little girl?
Oh my God.
She had an imaginary friend?
Because you're right. If they had sung that, I'd be all over that. But because it's a monologue, I hate it.
Yeah, we also find out that when they all get abducted by Daleks, because apparently Daleks have invaded the UK fashion industry, because Amy's a model, and so she gets abducted by her hairdresser. And then Rory gets abducted by a bus driver, and the Doctor gets abducted by a Dalek lady. And they all go to the Dalek Parliament, which seems to me to imply the Daleks hold elections.
And Archaea Daleks were still there too.
Yeah,
despite the fact that then all of the other new Daleks were only copper.
Yeah, they didn't really like the Power Ranger Dalek idea, so they were like, okay, so we've decided they're just like the Dalek leadership, but we can keep our our copper pepper pots that people
They
really
voted
like.
for it.
They voted for the copper pepper pots.
Yeah.
As the Dalek parliament.
As is the Dalek way, democracy.
Yeah, everyone knows how much the Daleks love that. That's why they have a prime minister.
I do like because like Dalek sounds the same more or less, but when they're all talking together, they sound different. Like, this is fun for me.
Well, you gotta wonder how many times Nicholas Briggs had to do each line for each Dalek, because that's a lot of Daleks.
Eggs.
So it's like,
Eggs.
So especially like what is save us, save us, save us, and it's like the whole.
I'm sure it's just here, say this 10 different times, and then we'll just overlap the 10.
Yeah, it was very interesting that, and I remember seeing you get a little excited when you first heard them say "save us" because you were like, "This is different. This is cheeky." And so the Doctor starts doing his whole like Doctor shtick to be like, "Okay, well, if I'm gonna save you, here's how we do it. You got to send down a small like strike team, so we could send in a couple of Daleks." And then he's like, "Oh, we're the strike team you're sending down," but in the meantime, we also learned that part of why they're upset is because the Asylum is broadcasting Carmen to them. The opera Carmen.
I did not clock that that's why they were upset.
Yeah, because for somehow the Asylum was broadcasting to them when it shouldn't be doing that. But the thing it was broadcasting was the opera Carmen, which the Doctor says he plays the triangle in. Yeah. This show is very silly, and I love it.
Yeah, here is my thing, and not to use the like it's Cassie bedtime. I did not hold on to a whole lot of this episode.
I will also say,
but I also didn't feel the need to take any notes because I was angry about anything. Yeah. It's like good.
Nothing bothered you.
No.
Yeah, for me, I think this season is Moffat at his most Moffat-y, which is to say that sometimes characters, especially the Doctor, will just rattle off every thought they have in their head, which is sometimes entertaining, but also makes it jokes will just like whiz by you, and I have to like repeat them. Even like I've forgotten most of them myself, even until I rewatch them.
Like Rory saying that he hadn't any other questions upon asking the Daleks what color the Daleks are.
Yeah, because they asked how many Daleks are they armed? What color are they? Which is maybe racist. I don't know if you're racist against the Daleks. That feels weird.
Well, it's a valid question when you have Copper and Power Rangers.
And also, there was a lot of like they weren't like prominent, but there was a lot of classic Daleks, like classic era Daleks that were like wheeled out for this episode because it works. You could bring out props from 30 years ago that look a little disheveled for the Asylum because they're supposed to look
and then
disheveled.
Cover them in cobwebs.
Yeah, exactly.
And have them repeat the word eggs.
Yeah. That might be a good time for us to play the game of what was Cassie's favorite moment from the episode. Would you like to tell me what it is? I can tell you if I was right, or should I tell you what I think and you tell me if I was right?
Well, because I don't know what I know what my least favorite moment was.
Is it the zombie Daleks?
Yes. And the like human zombie Daleks, not the ones that were in the intensive care unit. Doctor.
My hero was the one that goes, Doctor. Like he went, boo.
Because he's pulling himself off the wall.
Yes. So my guess for your favorite part was the Dalek saying eggs.
You mean those things? Eggs. I don't know what you want. Those things are those things eggs? This? You want this?
How quickly did you realize he was saying exterminate? Was it immediate, or did you have to take a round of him saying eggs before you went?
It was like a round of after like the third.
Mm-hmm.
After the third set of eggs. So I was like, yeah, that makes sense. Why then Oswina is making souffle.
She's making it with Dalek eggs.
She's making egg stir. Now, I feel like that if I had said for one of the answers, egg stir and bake, I still would have been correct.
I probably would have given you the point for that, but also milk was another thing they had mentioned, so I figured I would give you the opportunity to name 2 ingredients just in case you didn't think of eggs. It was interesting how they made that a callback, though, when they reveal that Oswin is actually a Dalek. They're like, where do you get the milk and eggs? Where do you get the milk and eggs, Oswin? Eggs. Terminate.
So stupid.
Would you believe that's not the first time they've done that? It's just the first time they've done that on television. There is a seventh.
It's a silly bit.
Yeah, there's a comic book of the Seventh Doctor who is getting slowly turned into a Dalek, and part of the way they reveal that he's becoming a Dalek is he starts yelling eggs, stir, eggs, stir.
You see, because here's the thing. I feel like it's the equivalent of if a human smells toast, then they're having a stroke.
If a Dalek smells eggs, they have to kill.
Well, if the Dalek says egg. So they could just be out at brunch ordering.
What would you like for breakfast, honey? Exterminate!
Eggs. She will have 6 sides of eggs.
I do like Rory being like, he pulls up one of the little round orbs. Eggs. Is this an egg? Are these eggs?
He's just trying his fucking hardest.
Poor nurse Rory. I also really I really love Oswin. I guess I did tell you earlier that this episode features my favorite companion of the series, and that is one Oswald. Does
she come back?
I mean, she's a Dalek. I don't know how she could come back.
For those of you who are not also in the room with us, which is no one, because our studio audience is at work tonight, Zach just flashed me a cheeky little shucks.
I don't know, maybe?
Yeah.
It'd be weird though. I don't know how you'd come back when you got converted into a Dalek and then the whole planet blew up. That'd be really weird, right? Also kind of weird they gave her an actual actress if she's a Dalek.
Well, she's a dream, though.
She is a dream, yes.
Oswin is a dream.
Yeah, she also that is Jenna Louise Coleman. I think she just goes by Jenna Coleman now, who might be an actual pixie come to life. Every time I see her, I'm like, you look like Tinkerbell. You look like Tinkerbell.
Oh, she doesn't look like Tinkerbell. She looks like, though, a fairy in Pixie Hollow.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, not specifically Tinkerbell, but that she's got like, if someone were to make a live action Peter Pan and they cast Jenna Coleman as Tinkerbell, I wouldn't be mad, even though she's brunette and not blonde. But like, who cares?
Hair dye, bitch. Yeah. Wigs.
Well, what I mean is, they didn't change that. Like, you're not going to find a human being that looks more like a pixie than her. Anyway.
What else is she in if you have such strong feelings about this person?
Not the actress, the character.
Oh.
Yeah, the character of Oswald.
Oh.
Well, you'll see what's up with her. I don't want to give too much away.
I thought she blew up, Zach.
She did blow up. Yep, Oswald Oswald blew up. Oswald Oswald does not come back. Anyway, let's. I do really like that reveal. I think that reveal works. I think it's worked on even on subsequent watch throughs where I've seen where you see the doctor's like, does it seem real, Oswin? And you get this like the camera is framed deliberately weirdly in a way that's like. It's very strange to describe without having like a visual example for a podcast, but because they like shove the doctor into like the very corner of the image and all you get is like the wall above him, there's a part of it where it's like they are deliberately hiding information from you in a way that lets you know that something is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then they do that slow pan to reveal this Dalek chained up.
This is one of the first times where the Doctor was being very doctor-y and very know-it-all, where it didn't bother me.
Yeah.
Because it reminded me a little bit of that one Batman episode.
Mm-hmm.
You know the one I'm talking about.
There's a few of them.
It's from the 90s Batman.
Okay.
Where I'm forgetting the villain, like her name specifically, but she's like a 30-year-old woman trapped in the body of a little girl.
Oh, Baby Doll.
Yes, thank you. It reminded me of that, like the weight of that like reveal and the weight of the situation, but the characters handling it in the best way they possibly can, despite in other episodes where they're just idiots and morons.
I think it works because you could tell the Doctor is like questioning it the whole way. Like he's putting pieces together. He just doesn't have like the confirmation that his theory is correct until he's staring it in the face.
I do like that he is proven wrong though, because he's yelling at her, "You are a Dalek," and she's saying, "No, I am a human.
I am not a Dalek. I am a human." You were really getting a kick out of the Dalek having to actually emote, though.
I loved it. There's something about because doing the
they hate you so much.
It's really funny because typically Dalek is so angry, and so it's when you're doing the voice, even if it's like a bit, you're shouting. Try it at home, everybody, right now.
It's one of those where you're like, you really have to commend Nicholas Briggs, because it's one thing when he's playing like the angry, like exterminate Doctor, but when he gets
when they're wiggling and angry and mad, but then the second that he has to say,
there is like some genuine like emotion to him.
It reminded me of like dying animal. Like there was something really sincere about it, where it was like, oh,
it sounds like he's crying. Or she's crying. It sounds like the Dalek is crying.
Well, it's also because, like, what I was getting at is for normal Dalek, the pitch is, or it's not the pitch. It's when you're speaking with a lot of air, you're like shouting it. And so it's very expressive and emotive in that way. But then when you dial that back and you bring that air in and you're just speaking with that gravel, it does sound like Dalek is crying. It just sounds so sad and it sounds heavier.
It is kind of funny to picture some of like what Osmond says throughout the episode when she's like just being flirty.
The chin and the nose, they can duel.
Yeah, she's like, you are the chin and the nose. You could fence.
Yeah, you could fence. Thank you.
Or it's run, you clever boy, and remember. Or like the entire time, it's like the first boy I ever fancied was called Rory. Actually, she was called Nina. I was going through a phase.
Alternatively, I was going through a phase.
I was going through a phase.
But
take your shirt off quick as you like. Does there have to be a reason? There's a very like casual flirtiness to Oswin that I really like.
Yeah.
I really enjoy that whole bit. Because there's a very genuine part of it of like, this woman has been trapped in a ship for a year, and the first thing she gets is two moderately attractive men showing up. And so she's just like, all right, I'm gonna flirt a little bit. You say divorced, you say.
To shreds, you say.
Eggs, you say. Well, how is his wife holding up? Eggs, you say. Eggs.
It's so dumb.
But overall, a good opening for you is what I'm gathering.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm
an opening that I am satisfied with, despite. Well, because even the like ending bit of the repetition of Doctor Who, like I said, it's completely valid for Dalek.
Yeah, because Oswin went through the files and erased the Doctor from
Which then just makes me curious how Dalek will come back in the next series.
Well, I mean, would you like to know how they resolve that little fact?
Yeah.
They don't. They just the Daleks they just scrub away that little detail that the Daleks forgot. Something happened off screen that they all remember now. They wrote themselves into a corner and they went, doesn't matter, it's Doctor Who.
There's one Dalek that went, hey, wait a minute.
I have an appointment. A doctor's appointment. Or just one of them flew in that still had.
One of them rolls in. I was going to watch a movie.
I mean, if you really wanted to assume like the easy way.
Alien versus Predator.
Like if we assume that they have a hive mind, if one that was just like unplugged from their little matrix flew back in and was just like, oh, right, here's all the information about our biggest enemy. Since all of you forgot, you bunch of weirdos.
I think you bulldozed right over my Dalek movie day where they're watching Alien versus Predator. Where they're alien and the Doctor is Predator.
Alien versus Predator. Whoever wins, we win. It is the feel-good comedy of the year.
See, it's the way that in my head they all identify with Sigourney Weaver in the mech suit.
Get away from her, you bitch. Well, next week you got a few other fun little details because next week is an episode called Dinosaurs on a Spaceship.
I swear to everything on this earth, if it is not actually dinosaurs on a spaceship, I am going to fly to the UK, knock on the BBC's doors and say,
go to Stephen Moffat's house personally.
Yes.
Next week is called Dinosaurs on a Spaceship. We also get to meet Rory's dad. So I'll let you picture what that looks like.
Rory's dad. That's it.
Rory's dad. Hope the episode's not bad. That rhyme scheme.
Ooh. Call back.
That rhyme scheme didn't work at all, but I'm glad we went along with it. Well, we'll find out if dinosaurs are on an actual spaceship on the next episode of Who Is My Doctor?
Who is my doctor?
Who is indeed?
Yeah.
And so begins another season of Doctor Who, and this is the season where I personally really started to dig deep in the show's history and started to watch the classic series, and is a large part into why this podcast exists now, at least from my side of it. Obviously, Cassie's side was she never watched anything. But I'm really curious how this season is going to impact Cassie because of that, if it impacts her at all. So we'll see. In some other big news, we have a website now. Wimdpod.com. That's WIMDPOD.com. There you can find all of our socials, every public episode of this podcast, and all of the places you can subscribe to us if you didn't find us on your preferred platform yet. There you can also find a link to our Patreon, patreon.com/whoismydoctor, where for as little as $1 a month, you can get each episode of this podcast a whole week early. Thanks go to all of them for their support, but special thanks to our Big Daddy Dalek patrons Andrew Blewett, David Gansel, and Travis Aiken. Next Tuesday, we're rolling back the rock, but not to the dawn of time, because we'll be on a spaceship. So we'll see you next Tuesday, because your Tuesdays are now Who's Days. See you then.